Going to go ahead and just welcome everyone again to Tech Talks. We are always happy to meet with our EMSE program managers, and hope you're enjoying the series so far this year. If it's your first time, just know that the purpose of Tech Talks is to improve EMSE through technology. We meet to learn all about data processes, free and open source software, reporting strategies, EMSE communications, and lots more. Today, we are going to be learning about PowerPoint, new features and creatures presented by Braden Green from our very own EDC. And before we get started, let's just remember to get ready by making sure that our physical and virtual spaces are free of distractions. Let's get set by muting our phones to keep the line clear, and let's participate. You can always raise your hand with the reactions icon, or you can speak up over the phone. I'm going to be monitoring the chat today. My name is Jane Osler, if you don't know who I am. And feel free to say hello in the chat. Tell me what state you're calling from, or that you're calling in from. And we will go ahead and move on to what our monthly challenge was for this month. It was to explore and open 2 tabs in PowerPoint that you have never used before. So we hope you're able to take that challenge. And with that, I'm going to let Braden take it away.
All right. Okay, there we are. I did. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the zoom feature that is in PowerPoint. And note that as we're going through this, some of these slides, or a good number of them actually, are intentionally pretty plain, like this one that we're looking at right now. And that's basically just because we're looking to highlight the zoom feature and how it works, and we'll kind of be moving in and out of presentation mode. Sometimes I'll be presenting something, sometimes I'll be actually just showing my PowerPoint and walking through how to basically do something in PowerPoint. So first off, the PowerPoint zoom feature has nothing to do with the communication software that we are currently using. It has everything to do with making your PowerPoint presentation more dynamic by allowing you to zoom in and out of sections of a slide to highlight it or to move around. Basically, it makes it look like you're moving, sliding across a slide. And it is important to note that this feature is only available on PowerPoint 2019 or newer. And that does include the PowerPoint 365. So if you have an older, like a 2016 PowerPoint, unfortunately, you won't have this feature until you upgrade to at least 2019. So there are 3 types of slide zoom in PowerPoint, and we will, assuming we have time, we'll go through all 3, but they're all very similar. So once you kind of understand one, you can play around and figure out the rest of them, but we should be able to get through all 3 of them. They basically work similarly, but they allow you to do slightly different things. And so we'll basically go through each one of them, starting with slide zoom. And then just as a note, I will be mentioning the term main slide during this presentation. The main slide, when I mention that, refers to the slide into which we are zooming in and out. And it will change for slide zoom and section zoom, and I'll try and keep it straight. But if you hear me talk about main slide, I'm just meaning the slide that we just zoomed into, or that we will zoom out of. Okay. So what we're going to do is basically create a slideshow about a trip in order to show you how to use this different features. So before you get jealous about a trip that I went on to Europe, this is a fake trip. It is actually based on a real trip, but it's a trip that my wife and I went on way back before we had a kid and a mortgage, back when we could still do fun things. So we'll just kind of use that as a base for how to do this. So first is going to be slide zoom. So slide zoom basically allows you to drill down into info on a main slide. And you can navigate between different slides in any preset order. And it is often best for shorter presentations or as part of a presentation, because it could get a little unruly if you try to do it with a 30 slide presentation or something like that. So first, what I'm going to do is, okay, so first, this is our main slide for our slide Zoom presentation. So when I'm talking about the main slide for the next few minutes, this is the slide that we're talking about. So essentially, a slide zoom will let us zoom into a part of it and then slide across it so it looks like we're moving around on one slide, one PowerPoint slide. So this is the one we're going to first zoom into Italy, and then we'll slide over to France, and then we'll come back out to this one. So we'll show you how that looks. So you see, slide in or move in, and then it zooms across, and then basically, so once you've gone through the planned zooms, it will simply move on to the next slide in your slideshow. So here we're seeing, we see the slide, and then this is the end of the slides that I have put in. So it just moves on to the next one like any other presentation. But if you'd like, you can actually make it zoom back out so that it shows the main slide. And that basically, you can like summarize it and then move on to whatever you're going to keep talking about. And I'll show you how to do this in just a moment. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave the slide or the presentation mode, and we're just going to go back to that main slide, and I can show you how to add in a slide zoom. So basically what it looks like we did is it looks like we zoomed into Italy and then slid across. What we actually did was we switched to this Italy slide and then slid over to this France slide. So the first thing you need to do is, if you're going to do a slide zoom, is you want to create the slides, like all of the different slides that you want to zoom into. So if we look at these thumbnails here on the left, what we're actually going to do now is we're going to add a third slide zoom that will now slide from France over to the Netherlands, and then slide back and then zoom back out into this main one. So when you're doing the zoom feature in PowerPoint, you're actually going to do most of the work on the main slide. Let's do that. So what you're going to do is, the first thing is, after your slides that you want to zoom in and out of have been built, you'll come to your main slide, and you will go to the Insert tab here at the top. And then there's this button about halfway down under the Links section called Zoom. You're going to click that, and it will drop down, and there's your three options: Summary Zoom, Section Zoom, and Slide Zoom. In this case, we're going to do a slide zoom. And it will bring up a dialog box with all of the slides you have in your presentation. In this case, I want to add in this slide 10, this Netherlands slide. And then I'll hit Insert. And what it will do is it will basically drop in a picture of that slide, including the background. Maybe I should have done the background in a different color, but you can see with these white dots here that it's dropped in this Netherlands slide, and you can make it bigger or smaller, but you'll see it will cover up other things. So basically it adds an image of one of your future slides in here. In this case, it added in an image of this Netherlands slide. And if you click off of it, you can see it still has that border around it. If you want, you can always keep that border there if you'd like. But if you want to get rid of it, like I did here for Italy and France, so it just looks like a normal old slide, that is done with the format icon. So what you need to do is you need to select the image that you're wanting to remove the border from. So in this case, it's this Netherlands image. And you're going to come up here to the Format tab. You'll notice that this one is darker. In PowerPoint, depending on what options are available, a darker tab may come up, and that one changes depending on what options are available for the thing you're going to do. So in this case, we're doing a zoom, so it gives us a Zoom Tools format. I'm going to click on this format, and it basically gives you image options. You can do a bunch of different things. But here, I'm just going to click on this zoom border, and I'm going to say no outline. And now you can say, okay, that's gone. Now you can line it up however you want. And that is basically how you add that in. If you remember also, I mentioned that you can have it zoom back to this main slide after you're done, rather than just move on to the next slide in your presentation. And that is going to be done similarly. So you're going to click on the last slide that you're zooming into, which will be this Netherlands one. I'm going to come over here to Format. And then I'm going to click up here in the top left. There's a button that was unchecked called Return to Zoom. If I click that, it will make it now so that after Netherlands, when I move the slide, it will come back to number 7. And then after that, when I'm done, okay, so these, we'll summarize this. Then it will move on to directly to slide 11. It will not go back through all of the slides you did. So let's go to presentation mode again. So now we're going to see we zoom into Italy, over to France, over to the Netherlands, and then back to the main slide. And then if I go next, it's going to go to, it doesn't go back through the zooms, it goes to my next slide, which in this case is my section zoom. I'm going to kind of keep plowing through because they're really similar. And then when we get to the end, I just want to show the section zoom particularly, since that's the one that I personally use the most. And then when we get to the end, if we have a few minutes, we'll go ahead and open it up for some questions. So that's basically slide zoom. And that to me is kind of the simplest one. It basically allows you to slide into or zoom into what looks like a main slide and kind of move around on that slide and then come back. The section zoom links you to a specified section of your presentation, which section is an actual PowerPoint thing, and I'll walk you through that. And it allows you to basically zoom into a slide like we've done, go through a couple of different slides about that topic, and then return back to the main slide and do it again. So rather, if you remember in that slide zoom we just did, it basically is the 1 slide, the 2 slide, the 3 slide, and then back. This one, we're going to go into a section, talk about that section with a couple of slides, and then come back, and then go into a second section to go through a couple of slides, and then come back. So that's what this is going to be. And on next, we'll show you how to do it. So this is our main slide. And what I'm going to do is zoom into a country like we did before, but then show some pictures from our time at that country, and then come back to this main slide and then go into the next one. So here we're going to zoom into Italy. And then we saw the Trevi Fountain, and we climbed St. Peter's Basilica. And then it zooms back out to what we saw before. And now we say, okay, we also went to France, and we saw Notre Dame, and obviously the Eiffel Tower. So once you're done with all the sections that you have in the section zoom, it also will just move on to the next slide. So here, this is a filler slide that I put in to basically just show we're just moving on to the next one. Excuse me, and it, it's not zooming back out. But note that when you have a section slide zoom in a presentation, PowerPoint notices the next section as a trigger to go back to the section zoom main slide. So we'll walk through that as well now. So what we actually did is this was our main slide. We zoomed into Italy, and then we stayed there, and we showed some pictures on slide 14 and 15. And then we zoomed back to the main slide, and then went into France, showed a couple of pictures, and then continued on with this filler slide. It had the same background because I had done this remove background feature. I'll show you in a minute. I didn't realize I had done that, but so what we're going to do now is we are going to add a third section for our time in the Netherlands. And to do that, basically what I first did, this is a little more advanced because you can see there's the map and everything. You couldn't even tell that there was any of those sections on the map. So what I want to show you here is actually, this is similar to the slide zoom, but I just basically hid the fact that we had any zooms in there. So if I click on Italy, you'll see these white dots come up. So it actually is still a slide like we had before. I just hid it, and I basically removed the background, which we can talk about in the future sometime, and then changed the shape of it so that it just fit over the map. And then same thing with France, is I just took I basically took a screenshot of France, and then I shaped it and moved it so that it would just fit right over the France in the original map to hide it. So we're going to do something similar with the Netherlands. But first, we need to insert a section. If we look over here on the left, and I'll make it bigger, this right here, it's got this little header that says section zoom, and then I've got one right here that says Italy, and you'll notice if I click on it, it highlights just the 3 slides about Italy, and then I've got another one called France that will highlight just the 3 sections. No, actually, this is the last one. So the France one will highlight everything from France until the end, or until I add another section. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about a section in PowerPoint. And so the first step to putting in a section slide is to create your slides, just like we did. So I've already created my 2 Netherlands slides, one with the picture that I'm going to zoom into, and then one with a picture that we took while we were there. But I need to next add a section in order to do a section zoom. There's 2 ways to do that. Both of them require that I click in the space between this, like before the first slide of my new section. So if you'll notice, there's this red bar that showed up. You can add a section under the Home tab by coming up here and dropping down and add a section, or you can just right click in that space and click add section. And you'll notice now it puts that header up there that says untitled section. I'm going to call it Netherlands. Click rename. So now I added a new section called Netherlands, and I had previously added a section called summary zoom. So it will end after this last one. So again, the steps basically are to create the slides that you want in your section, and then you'll create a new section. And when you want that section to end, you will create a new section after that, and it could be called anything, you know. And the last section, you just say end and have all the rest of your slides in there. Okay, so now we have created the slides, we have added that section. What I'm going to do is come back to my main slide, which in this case is number 12. I'm going to come up here to insert again, just like we did last time, and then come to zoom and click that drop down, but I'm going to click on section zoom this time. And that is going to automatically bring up all of the different sections that I have created, and it will show me a thumbnail of the first slide in that section. So we already have Italy, we already have France, so I'm just going to do section 6 Netherlands. Click OK, and click insert. And you'll see it drop that image in here. And so there's the country, and it's got that same gray background as the slide did. But I actually want that background to be missing like it is for Italy and for France. So I'm going to select the Amsterdam or the Netherlands one. I'm going to come up here to that format button again. If you're having trouble and you just don't see the zoom tools, it's because you haven't selected a zoomable feature that you added in. You'll notice this up here changes. If I click off of it, it turns into drawing tools or picture tools because it's selecting that background picture. But if I click on the zoom, it's going to give me this zoom tools tab. I'm going to click on format. And then over here, if I just click zoom background, it will automatically remove the background for everything except kind of the main image that I have put on there, which in this case is that Netherlands one. And this is where it does get a little tricky. You kind of have to zoom in maybe and play around with it and adjust the size to get it to fit. In this case, for time's sake, I actually have already built it so that it is just the right size, and I'll just move it in there. But you can see this is exactly what I did with Italy and France. Netherlands looks like it's already on there. I just cut out a piece of that image, and then I'm just laying it over so that it looks like nothing happened. Right here, I'm using my keypad to kind of move that around. And so if you look at this image, you actually would never know that there's something weird going on, that I have all these images overlaid. I mean, there's places you can, if you look really closely, you can tell it's not perfect, but that is what I'm doing to make it look like I'm just zooming into one slide, as opposed to actually I'm putting images of other slides over top. Okay, so now we have done that. I'm going to select this. I'm going to come back up to this Format tab, and I'm going to check Return to Zoom is already selected on this one, so I'm good to go there. So now let's go to presentation mode and just see what that looks like. So again, this is our main slide. We're going to zoom into Italy. Here's an example. You can see that Rome is a little bit doubled up because it's not perfect. That's okay. We're going to look at the images that we took in Italy, zoom back, and now see France, see some pictures. And now it's going to zoom. Oh, I had forgotten to delete that filler slide. Now it will zoom back out and we'll zoom into the Netherlands. In this case, I put it in the far corner so that we could see the picture. And then it will come back to this main slide. And then if I move this slide forward one more time, it will just jump over all of those sections that we just zoomed into to the final section in the presentation. So as you see, we kept coming back to this slide, and then when we were done with our last slide zoom, it just jumped us clear down here to this summary zoom slide. Okay, so that I tend to use that section zoom more, just because I like that it allows me to kind of move on and talk about a topic with a couple of slides and then come back and do a summary. Okay, now we're going to move on to point 2 and talk about point 2 and then come back, and then we'll talk about point 3, all from one main slide, but it allows us to basically dive in and do more than just one slide before we start moving around and zooming around, like with the slide zoom.
Hi, Braden. Sorry I missed the time, but this is 12:23 right now.
Okay, no worries. You're all good. We should actually be just about right. So the summary zoom is, to me, in some ways the simplest of the three, but it's also, to me, it basically shows all the pieces of your presentation that you choose at once, like a landing page. It can be used at the beginning of a slideshow to basically show what is to come, and then you would zoom into that and back out. Or the way that I have seen it used the most and used it most myself is to basically automatically create a summary at the end of my presentation. So the zoom in this case, for me personally, is a little less important. It mostly is just a really easy way to summarize my presentation. So what we're going to do is basically create a summary zoom. What I'm going to do is just keep it on this slide for now, and I will insert a zoom, and I will do a summary zoom. And when I create this, it's going to bring up all the different slides that I had, but it will choose basically some that you think, or that it thinks you might want. In these cases, it's the first slide of certain sections. So basically, it's going to highlight your sections. But if you wanted to add other slides that are not the first slide in a section, that will work. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and we will just remove the Italy and the France one, and we'll basically just keep our slide zoom, section zoom, and summary zoom slides in there. And you can see that they're orange. So I'll say go ahead and insert. And this one, you'll notice it automatically adds a new slide, and it actually added a new section. And it added that section up at the top right before my second section. So I don't actually want this at the top. I want it at the end of my presentation. So I can just click on that summary section, and you'll notice it shrinks down all my sections, and I'm just going to drop it to the very end. And now it's showing up here in these thumbnails after the summary zoom slide that we were just looking at. And you'll see all it did was it took the slide zoom, the section zoom, and the summary zoom slides, and it dropped them all into one bigger image or a box. And from here, you can basically, make them bigger, smaller. You can move each individual one around. But this, to me, I use the summary zoom the most. And I apologize, these, I'm actually, just so you can see, coming to the border, and I'm going to make the weight of these bigger so that we can see that they automatically are coming in with a border on them. You can remove that border the same as any other by under the format tab. If you want to remove it, you can say no outline. In this case, I want to highlight that these are different slides that we've already looked at, so that I can just basically say summary. And I can say, here is if you remember, we talked about slide zoom, which drills down to info on a main slide and basically shifts around on top of that slide. And then the section zoom links you to a different section of the presentation and allows you to go through a couple of slides before returning to your main slide. And then the summary zoom, if put at the end of your presentation, is just a really simple, easy way to create a summary, to highlight the main points and the main slides that you talked about before finishing out.
Hey, Braden.
Yes.
We've got a question.
We are at the question time, so that's perfect.
Yeah, the question is, all right. So the question is, how do you let your user know they'll be taken back to the home page if you send them the slideshow? And can you also show a rollover so they know which items are buttons?
So it's a little tricky just because I wouldn't say this is really designed for like slideshows that you would send to somebody. They're really designed for slideshows that you're going to be presenting. That said, if you want them to know that these are here, I would just keep those borders on. I don't know if that answers the question, but you can change the color of them and everything too. Andrea, was that you?
Right. Yeah. So it's that, go back, click on one of the Zoom slides. What they're asking about is, remember how you slid over versus going in and out?
Oh,
So to go in and out is that return zoom.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Andrea. So basically that is going to be this format button. If I wanted here on the slide zoom, I can make it so that it comes back to my main slide every time by selecting it, going to format, and then selecting return zoom.
Position. I'm just worried. I know there's still plenty.
So here we zoom in, and then we're actually going to come back out and then go into France, over to the Netherlands, and back out. Does that make sense? And I think somebody was talking, but I don't know if it was just in the background or if I was talking over somebody without realizing it. I had made a slide. I must not have saved it. I must have not saved very well. It said questions, and then it said email me at braden.green@hsc.utah.edu. So you can obviously reach out to your your EDC TA at any point, but also if you have other questions and would like, specifically about our presentation today or anything like that, that is my email address. Feel free to shoot me an email and we can come up with a time to go over some stuff. And again, all the NEATARC TAs, at least to some degree, know how to do this. I've learned a little more while presenting this presentation and stuff, but reach out to your TA if they're not sure. They can ask me, or Andrea is really the expert with all this stuff. She helped me with some questions that I had while I was building this, but you can also reach out to me, so don't hesitate to ask questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Braden. That looks like a ton of fun to play with. And I'm sure there's lots and lots of applications.
I will say that's the biggest thing is if you want to learn how to do something like a slide zoom, get into a PowerPoint, draw up a couple of simple slides and start playing with it. And on a presentation that you're not going to be worried about, learn how to do it. And then you can start really playing with stuff later on a presentation that actually matters.
Yeah. That sounds great. Thank you so much for all the great information, Braden. We hope you join us next time for Making Sense of the Census. Our very own Jane Lowe will be presenting information about how we can explore our state's data. In the meantime, the monthly challenge for April is to use the search bar on the census website to explore your state's data at data.census.gov. And if you have an idea for Tech Talks, something in the future that you think EMSC program managers would be interested in learning more about, please feel free to reach out to me at the email listed on the screen. All of our presentations are recorded and posted on our website as well as our YouTube channel. We'll be sending the link out towards the end of this week or the very beginning of next as soon as we have that posted. And we hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful afternoon and a great weekend, everyone.